The topic of migration is currently becoming a priority in the discourse of almost all Western countries, including the United Kingdom. British Interior Minister Sal Braverman admitted that the migration crisis was out of control. The situation is getting worse every year, and all this is happening in such a developed and civilized country. What is wrong with migrants? Why are many locals so vehemently opposed to them? How do states solve this problem, and what awaits the UK in the future? Economic problems are often the reason for an open migration policy, and migration is used as an influx of cheap labor to correct the economic situation. However, in the case of the UK, it is difficult to say with certainty that this was the factor of unprecedented immigration. However, GDP per capita has averaged just 1.6% per year since 1997, which is only half of the long-term trend over the previous half-century. It is not easy to establish an exact cause and effect relationship. For many decades, Britain has hosted migrants, but the annual influx rarely exceeded 100,000 people, and there were no special problems. Everything changed in the mid-2010s due to the infamous migration crisis of 2015. This crisis marked a period of intense debate, during which discontent and anti-immigration sentiment increased. This crisis has led to far-reaching consequences, including Brexit, protests, riots, and the rise in popularity of far-right political parties. A logical question arises: if the state is aware of this problem and is trying to combat it, then why does the number of migrants continue to grow every year? In short, the current situation is the result of an unbalanced migration policy and a number of related reforms carried out to the detriment of national security and the labor market. Among other reasons for migration problems, Brexit is also called. Before the UK left the European Union, the migration rate remained at 250,000 people per year. After Brexit, there was an outflow of skilled labor, which was previously replenished by visitors from EU countries. Now these places have remained vacant, and residents of third world countries are trying to take them. The influx of migrants has not decreased, but only increased. But these are no longer EU citizens, but immigrants from North Africa, Iraq, Afghanistan, and the Middle East. According to the National Statistical Service, net migration amounted to 745,382 people in 2022. At the same time, keeping migrants in special centers cost the state about £4 billion a year. The problem also lies in the fact that an agreement has not yet been reached between the UK and France on regulating illegal migration across the English Channel, and a significant percentage of illegal immigrants arrive in foggy Albion this way. This phenomenon persists to this day. Why is there such a negative attitude towards migrants among the indigenous people? There are several reasons why many British citizens express dissatisfaction. The first reason is economic problems. Citizens believe that migrants take away their jobs, especially in low-skilled industries. It's no secret that migrants are willing to work for lower wages, which leads to a reduction in the number of British workers and lower wages. In addition, the influx of migrants puts pressure on public services such as health, housing, and education, which ultimately increases waiting times and reduces the availability of resources for local residents. The second reason is cultural differences. High levels of migration threaten Britain's national identity, traditions, and cultural values. Concerns about the loss of British identity often lead to negative attitudes towards migrants, especially if certain groups of migrants are poorly or not at all integrated into society. This leads to the formation of national enclaves and the development of parallel communities. Another reason is the problem of security and abuse of the social system. In recent years, there has been an increase in the crime rate among migrants, including those who have already obtained British citizenship. People see this and openly express their dissatisfaction. The recent clashes in Southport have become a prime example of tension. Many people in the UK also believe that illegal migrants abuse the social security system by taking advantage of benefits and not contributing enough to society. The UK remains a multicultural society, and attitudes towards migrants often depend on factors such as age, education level, region of residence, and personal experience in migration issues. Now let's look at this situation from the other side. However, migrants are not provided with social lifts, which partly provokes an increase in crime and makes it difficult for them to integrate into society. On the other hand, the situation is unprofitable. People without the necessary professional qualifications cannot contribute to the growth of the British economy. Rather, on the contrary, they take over the country's social resources, exacerbating the negative economic processes that the United Kingdom is facing. Although in the short term, many economists note the positive impact of the influx of migrants. Using them as cheap labor helps to stabilize the country's economy. But how does the government deal with this? The situation with migrants is getting worse every year, despite the promises of the ruling Conservative Party to solve this problem. Unsurprisingly, discontent in society is growing, resulting in protests, riots, and clashes with the police. And what is the government doing? The British Prime Minister accuses those citizens who expressed dissatisfaction with the migration crisis of aggression. Measures are being taken in response to the protests, but no one foresaw democratic consent to such demographic changes. They did not vote for it. Migration policy is working against the will of the people. Despite all the difficulties associated with economic development, the UK remains attractive to migrants from poor countries. This means that the flow of illegal immigrants will not decrease. Of course, discussions on measures to tighten migration policy are underway. For example, it was proposed to complicate legal entry into the country, as well as deport both illegal and legal migrants to Rwanda, to significantly reduce the flow of migrants, creating a real threat of being expelled from the country, as well as discourage refugees from legally staying to commit crimes. All countries limit migration and decide who exactly to let into their labor market. We can observe this on the example of many European countries, which are gradually tightening their migration policies. But the UK has set the bar too high, and now it is paying the price. It is not easy to say what awaits the kingdom in the future. The split in society is visible to the naked eye. Radical right-wing parties continue to gain popularity. For example, the same Elon Musk, after the events in Southport, said that a civil war was inevitable. This forecast cannot be called far-fetched if events develop in the same way. The transition of the conflict to a more serious stage will only be a matter of time. Many experts also believe that migration policy must undergo significant changes. Otherwise, the situation will only worsen. What do you think about this? What does the future hold for the UK? Write your opinion in the comments.